Okay, we are now recording. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for getting together to kick off our night market planning season. It's great to have all of you. We have a similar looking team as last year, which is really exciting. And then Hero joining us as well for some fresh ideas and look at the process. I've put the agenda in the chat. It's pretty basic. These agendas for these meetings are pretty basic. I keep them pretty basic, and then we get to have kind of the conversation that we need to have during the meeting, but for what gets posted to the public. So we're just gonna do this little welcome. I'll go over the agenda. We'll have a chance, if anybody joins us from the public, we'll have a chance for public comment. If not, we'll keep moving. We'll talk about just a brief little bit about history and kind of like how we got to today. Talk a little bit about the role and the process for the committee itself, how we sort of divide up the leadership of the market planning. We'll talk a little bit about what we know to date and a sketch of what we think a starting point for us for what we've been talking about for what this year could look like potentially. And then get into sort of your all's vision for the market. And we have some specific questions to ask you so far for the planning. And then also just, of course, reactions, ideas, thoughts about what this year will look like. And we have about an hour and 15 minutes that we're planning on. So.
Hello, everyone. This is Manije.
Oh, good. You made it, Manije.
Hi,
yeah,
Manije.
thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Manije.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Not bad. Sorry, I cannot show my face now.
I'm glad you made it in.
Thank you, thank you.
That's great. Yeah, so I don't see any members of the public here. Sorry, the one last thing I should say is just to remind everybody that we usually just use the same group agreements for this space as well that you all have chosen for DAB. So we'll refine those and finish them up on Monday. But those are the sort of the agreements for this space as well that we use. I don't see anybody from the public this time, so we'll go ahead and move past that and go right into just kind of setting the stage for the work together for the committee. So the first part, I just wanted to give a brief history, and I think just awareness to the committee itself. Some folks have been on the committee since the very beginning of this, and almost all of you have been on since last year, so I just want to be like really intentional, have us be intentional about that when we talk about it in this space that we have a new member joining us, which is awesome. So let's try to give enough context for what we're talking about. We also have some people who were around for something that happened in 2015 and other people that weren't, right? So just trying to give as much context and bring people into the conversation, and also feel free to ask questions if one of us doesn't do that appropriately, so everyone can keep up to speed. In terms of the history of the market, just very briefly, the first Beaverton Night Market was back in 2015. It was a pretty monumental event and undertaking. Most of the work for the event was done by the people on this call, and then some other folks that were part of the DAB committee before. And it was much smaller. It was just held on the South Plaza of the Round, right in front of City Hall, but we didn't sort of spread out into other areas, and we didn't have a lot of logistical support like we have in the last few years. It's evolved many times to sort of spread out in that area in front of City Hall. And then last year, we had to pivot a couple of different times for the context that we were living in. So initially, there was the construction starting on the Art Center and some TriMet things as well. And all the stuff that was happening on the Westgate lot, so the hotel that was being built over there, all that stuff, there was gonna be enough construction impacts in the area that we started to, so that we got noticed pretty early that it wasn't going to be feasible to do the market in front of the City Hall. And so we started to talk about where else could we move the market. And at first it felt like this, oh geez, how are we going to do this? How are we going to re-envision this thing? We're so used to sort of doing it in this spot. And then I think, at least from my perspective, we got to a place where we felt pretty excited actually about some options of bringing the market downtown. so across the way into downtown Beaverton. And so, sorry, downtown, like the first and the other side of Farmington. And so we started to sort of map out those things. We did a bunch of business outreach. We connected with different folks to try to make a move to that kind of a market, which would have been more of sort of like a, street fair kind of setup, and involved all these other pieces that would have been different. And then COVID hit, and we had to pivot again, of course, when we realized that we weren't really going to be able to do anything in person at all. It wasn't going to be feasible. And so we pivoted and did the virtual night market, which you all were so involved in and helped host and helped do media outreach and all kinds of things. So it was the first time we'd ever done more of really, going more in depth and doing some more planning. We got to highlight, I think, some of the mission of the market around really lifting up stories of the vendors and doing, a deeper dive on some of the educational and cultural aspects, and sort of curate the experience for the attendee a little more than we usually do. But we also, of course, lost the in-person, and we lost some of the sales component, et cetera. We did do some online craft kit sales to try to make up for some of that. And we did some other creative things along the way, but it was a very different market. We got out of it some really amazing footage. We had a documentary, style film segments that we have now that we can use in promotion this year and in the future. And also the vendors that participated got to take away a piece of video that was an in-depth interview or an in-depth, visit. So there's some really interesting things that came out of that, but we're once again in sort of a different context and trying to figure out how to balance all of these things. So that was just like a really brief, a couple of highlight overview of sort of history and how we got to the time to where we're at right now. Does anybody else want to jump in and say a few things about the history of the market that you think are especially important as we get into the conversation today?
Yeah, we had a birthday party for the 5th year of our Beaverton Night Market. It was beautiful. And the band, they sang happy birthday for us, and people danced with them with the happy birthday. And I have amazing experiences from these night markets that we had every year. The main part of it was the cultural connection. That so many cultures, they gathered together, and it was a very family safe environment. The staff and the volunteers worked so hard to manage the event. And people kept asking, when is the event coming? We need to have this every month. We need to have it more than 1 month, more than 2 times a year. And finally, COVID took everything in hand and became our boss, I think.
Thanks, Manijay. Yeah, really important pieces. That's right, that 5th anniversary celebration. That was so sweet in so many ways. And yeah, there's an incredible amount of momentum that has been built over the years, and a really cherished, I think a really cherished space by people across the county and even across the region that come to the event. It's really something that clearly was a need in the community that this is fulfilling. So anybody else, or should I go ahead and move on to roles and committee structure?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So as a refugee, came from Middle East, and we still miss that nightlife there, like with the market and like busy streets, and you will see your friends, your neighbor, and introduce yourself to the new people. So honestly, I found that's dream on Beaverton Night Market. So from day one I arrived, I involved with that, and I think this is like seventh year I will involve with Beaverton Night Market, and if it was not good, we will not stack that much year. So honestly, I wish that legacy will continue, and we will have. Let's hope this year we will have it hybrid or in person, and all the like health authority news. It's good. Today we have less than 200 confirmed cases with COVID. So, and almost 1 million people they got vaccinated. So let's hope till June or July we will have it. Let's hope we will have it in person. Thank you.
It's me again, Anita. The good thing about it, we had different languages, like in DAP members, everyone came and did the greetings and the goodbyes in on their own language. For example, me and my daughter, we represented a Persian-speaking community, and we greeted everyone in Persian, and also at the end we said goodbyes in Persian, and we had Dr. Kimi speaking in Korean, and Monica and other, my memory is short. We had others Spanish speaking. They greeted and goodbye. They had goodbye in Spanish, and we had Ahmed and Noel talking in Arabic, speaking in Arabic. So it was really beautiful. That kind of just the connection that we make. Imagine 8,000 people in one area for a few hours. It makes miracles, brings heart together. And you see no room for not liking each other. It's all love everywhere. So that's why I really want this, as Ahmed said, this legacy continue to our future and to the way in the future. Is for Beaverton. I think Beaverton is more beautiful with Beaverton Night Market. So I cannot stop showing my excitement.
It's so awesome. Yeah, that's why we have the people we have on the committee. That's wonderful. So lastly, I'll just bring the purpose and goals back into the conversation, and then we'll keep moving so we can hear about what all of your ideas, and we can tell you what's going on for this year. The DAB developed this purpose and goals in the first year of the market. So the purpose of the Beaverton Night Market, the market exists to create a vibrant, intercultural, family-friendly space that is reminiscent of night markets internationally. The market offers a culturally relevant evening activity and gathering space with ethnic foods and crafts for families of all backgrounds in Beaverton. And the goals are: 1, to foster a space for cross-cultural exchange and interaction by community members. 2, to create a space for emerging ethnic food and craft vendors to showcase their work and share their traditions. 3, to promote economic opportunity for culturally specific businesses in Beaverton. And 4, to offer a fun, family-friendly cultural activity locally. So beautifully exemplified by the comments already. Those pieces, I think we've been really successful in a lot of ways. So in terms of the committee, just to remind people, and that's the leadership structure for the markets, what we do is we sort of have Jody and I we're calling it the triangle. We have sort of a triangle of folks that are involved in leading this effort. So you all, the DAB committee, provide overall direction. You all discuss and approve any major changes to the vision or the scope of the project. You advise on key decision points. So the look and feel of the promotional materials, the selection criteria in terms of vendors, and even the final list of vendors and performers, and even, sort of the environment at the market, what that looks and feels like. You also help do outreach to recruit vendors and advise on the recruitment process to make sure we're getting the maximum outreach that we can, and as well as to performers and to attendees. And you all historically have acted as hosts of the market. So those are things we try to prioritize, making sure that you all can be involved in leading. We usually have about 6-ish meetings with this committee through the season, in which you can that are built around those different decision points that you all can advise on. We have city staff, so I'm in that category, but also folks on the events team at the city who bring some, professional expertise and resources and skills and capacity. And then we also have Jody, who acts as the market manager, who really does some of everything, but in a primary way, her expertise is centered around supporting vendors and performers and bringing them into the market, supporting them through the process of being successful, and then being able to also just advise on how a market functions and how we can make sure the space flows and works in the ways that a market needs to work to be successful. So those are kind of the 3 different components. I would say just in terms of the committee, we'll follow the same general flow that we normally do. Like we usually spend some time at the beginning kind of sinking ourselves into what does the market look like this year and make sure that we're in agreement and we're, you all have a chance to help direct that within the parameters of the city and COVID and the county and all of that this year. And then we move into sort of the first phase is always around vendor recruitment. So we'll talk at the end of this meeting about what does our ideal vendor look like this year? What could be different? How do we want to approach the outreach and recruitment during COVID, et cetera? And we'll get that process sort of queued up and do that. And the vendors will get selected, and then we'll sort of move into the next phase, which is around promoting the market and preparing for the market itself. So that is, all the promotional stuff. It's the orienting the vendors. It's the really getting ready. And then there's sort of the event itself. And then there's some debrief. So that's kind of just to remind folks of the order of the way that we usually move through the process. Anything I missed there, Jody, that's key?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, now we get to the exciting part then, which is that we want to tell you all about what what this year brings, what we're looking at so far. We've, Jody, I, and some of the events team have had 2 or 3 meetings so far, just kind of trying to get the lay of the land and think about, again, what are parameters, what can we so I'm gonna share screen, I think, and Jody's gonna take this part to just explain where we're at.
I'm so excited to be back for another year, and I'm super excited. I bet that everyone can sort of get the hint right now that we are planning for an in-person market for this year. And I'm really happy about that. Yeah, and I'm sure everybody is really happy about that. I think that one of the things, so this is sort of our beginning, this is a very beginning draft of a proposal that we've been looking at for this year, and it has an in-person component and a virtual component. A lot of our planning so far has centered around talking with the city staff who run the events team, the city risk management, the attorneys. Washington County Health Department has provided a lot of guidance on what we need to be mindful of with regards to this year's event and hosting something in person, because we heard loud and clear from the survey that Alexis put out a few weeks ago that y'all want to have an in-person event, and I think that we all do. And we definitely want to keep a virtual component, though, for those that might not feel comfortable or be able to attend an in-person event. So this is what we're coming to you with right now, looking for feedback on. So what we are talking about, and of course this is guided by county guidance, which which has a lot to do with capacity. One of the things that I think is going to be a real challenge this year, not impossible, but a real challenge, is what Money J alluded to, how we are used to our in-person Beaverton Night Market being really full of people on the scale of thousands, and it's breathing a life of its own. And this year's event will not be like that. We are limited in capacity based on square footage and how many people can be in the market, including vendors, including volunteers, including staff. And it's very, very limited, even with moving into the moderate category, which we just moved into. And hopefully by that time we'll move into a lower one, but who knows, maybe a higher one, we don't know. And but we are definitely limited. So we are going to, and we are still scouting spaces as well. I think that we have an idea of a general size of the market that we want to look at, but we're looking at a number of different spaces to where that would be reasonable to have, where we have good entries and good exits, where we could monitor people coming in and out so that we know how many people are there. And so all of those things we're still working on. But what we're looking at is what this document says, one market location with a footprint for a few hundred people at a time. So what I basically calculated out was about one city block area is a big size that can host, with current guidelines, around 275 to 300 people. At a time, including all the vendors. This is in compliance with Washington County. We're looking at, or we're considering, we've been talking about doing timed entries. And so using some sort of reservation system or bracelet system or some way to for people to reserve a specific time period, whether it be an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, that they want to attend the market, and then they leave when their time is done, so that we can get more than 300 people in the market during an evening. One of the questions that we are looking at, and we definitely want some feedback on, is about dining and about food in there. That's a big concern, because this would be, you would have to take your mask off for food, and of course masks are required in every public space, and indoors and outdoors, and will be required at this market. And but if you're eating, your mask is off, so that there is additional protocols that have to be followed, including creating a separate space for dining, for people dining on site. But it's definitely something that we could do, depending on how y'all feel about that. There are some increased restrictions, when it comes to how vendors can serve their food if we're doing food to be consumed on site. So we have to think about that. Will affect the vendors that we select in the future and the vendors that we recruit in the future. So that's an additional consideration. Another thing that will be that need to be considered. So we want to create an experience for somebody who comes, whether it be an hour and a half, 2 hours. You can look at that chart on the screen, and I sort of ran some numbers based on the size of the market that we're looking at, the total number of attendees that we could potentially accommodate for a weekend. And I forgot where I was going with that. And so yeah, we want to create an experience that would be, fun for a family or a person to attend during that time. But there are limitations on the types of entertainment that we can provide. And this is all guided by county and city, guidelines that limit interaction between people. So no interactive activities like the coloring station. There would have to be, Monica, like separate crayons for everybody that they take home, and distance between everybody, things like that. Performers have to be, by themselves. There can't be any people dancing together. People who are playing music have to be separated. So we're still figuring out what all that looks like with the guidelines, but it's going to be different. It's going to be really different. And we're looking for ideas on how to create that environment that we all love with these limitations. Another thing that we are looking for guidance on and that we've thought about is hosting it over a weekend, having it be like a Friday, Saturday or a Saturday, Sunday. And changing around the hours that we are hosting the market for to accommodate more people. And you can sort of see that on the chart on the document. So that's basically what we're visioning for the in-person component. And should I stop here and maybe see if anybody has any questions or thoughts, or should I go?
If you want to just say 2 sentences about the virtual too, and then open it up to questions.
Okay, so the virtual component will basically be a live stream hosted on social media, hopefully with some hosts touring the market, hosts touring the market space, being filmed, and doing some vendor interviews or some whatever we come up with for that live stream on social media, to provide an experience for those who can't attend.
And then similar to last year, the directory and photos and links to vendors' websites that we have up currently. You can see what last year's looked like. So much scaled down virtual and much scaled down production component, but certainly some virtual presence.
So I think the first question that I would have for everybody, without going into some specific questions, and I'm sure that they'll probably be answered, or I can ask them along the way, is like, how does this proposal feel? How in general, how does it feel? Does this feel like what you were expecting and hoping for? What are your thoughts on this?
Hi, Jody. This is Shara. I'm so excited. Finally, we are doing it in person this year. That's so good. But personally, I believe 2 days, I know it's too much work for city, for night market to do, too much effort for doing it in person. Still, I think 2 days is not enough. If you have an option doing it in person, 2 days is not enough. As I understand, you saying that it's going to be reservation, not walking, right? It's not for anyone, it's just coming to night market like before. If it's going to be like reservation, so it's limit people. So still a lot of people, they can join. And for food, we can do a pre-package. It doesn't have to be like taking off your mask and eating it in the same place. So before the night market, you're going to do promotion like last year for the people that selling food, right? It's going to be some promotion like what we have.
Definitely.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they are doing reservation, they can just reserve what they want and order their food. And the vendor, they can prepare them. When they can have it with them, not eating it there.
Yeah, I think I think I sort of didn't say that they cannot eat it there. That's part of the county restrictions, is that nobody will be allowed to walk around with food. They would have to purchase the food prepackaged, like you said, and take it to the designated food area to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So is that, I mean, versus maybe we could have like have vendors sell things to go is another option, and skip the food area.
Yeah. Because if it be in person just for food vendors, it's not going to be fair. Maybe some of the art, handcrafts, some of these, they want just to participate in person. So people just can go around all tents and look around, and by the end, they order food and have prepackaged. But we need more than 2 days to give more chance to more vendors. Last year, it was just 18 vendors. Maybe it's going to be more participation this year, giving more chance to people.
Are you suggesting that we host it on different days with different vendors each day?
Like instead just 2 days, doing it 4 days. Let's see what the group's saying, but I'm saying like giving more chance to more vendors, to more people to attend. We need more than 2 days.
Thanks, Shara. So I see Monica and also Rehana.
Yes, thank you. I'm thinking about the food areas, that we can create a food area separated. And also we can have a group of tables. You know, sometimes the people comes with families and they can eat together at the same area if they are in the same group. And we might have another area with maybe 1 or 2 tables separate, just to make them have more the feeling of the night market, buying the food and being able to eat there. I think that's an excellent idea. In general, what I see right now, it is something that I had the opportunity to talk to some people about the night market, and they were asking about if it's possible for have something exactly what you have there. They were asking, having a ticket to go just for a few hours, like you, Jody, you have the farmer's market. That is kind of like, is a timing thing or something like that. So I think that people is going to be very excited about that. But I think we need to keep the areas to eat. And we might be able to create like an area with a group of family that is together, can go and eat together. And there are another area that is might be for 1 or 2 people that is only walk, and I mean, that is not in a large group, so you can go and have a seat and eat, and then move. I think we can ask them to move as quick as possible after they eat, so people can use the spaces to more people. But for the days, I think because this is a new experience, that is something that we need to accommodate totally different than before. I think that 2 days are good enough, because we are having limitation of number of people. Even if we want more, it's a limit there. So I think the 2 days are very good to experience now for what we're going through. So I loved what I see. I love what you guys developed, and I think it's very well done. But we need to keep the areas to eat. We need to have the area for the entertainment is fabulous. They're going to be on their own. Perhaps it will be possible to have a screen to see all over. I don't know. Now, in the virtual part, it is possible to show what is going on at the moment that is happening in the night market, and I don't know, YouTube or whatever is going to be. So whatever is going on in the night market with the people who's coming can be shown at the YouTube, so they can be seeing it instead of, I don't know if I misunderstood, if you're creating the virtual and the way that was done last year, or you are going to incorporate what is happening at the night market through the social media. Okay, so that's perfect. That's beautiful. I love that part. That even if you're not there, you're going to be able to see what's going on. Okay, I don't want to take too long because I want everybody to participate. Thank you.
Thanks, Monica. That's helpful. Go ahead, Rehana.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jody. So I was just had a few things that. So are we suggesting that hour we have a limited number of guests, right? Suggesting that hour we have 275 guests?
Yes, there is a limit to the number of guests that can fit at any given time. So I just put through some numbers out there for what it would look like, how many attendees could visit if we limited to 1 hour, if we limited to 1 hour and a half, if we limited to 2 hours.
Okay, so the less the time, the more attendees will have the opportunity to attend, right? So if we say hypothetically that people will attend for an hour, it's more likely that those people will not be able to eat and visit all the vendors at the same time. So aspect, I think, should be moved. There could like a take-home thing that will limit the cleanup as well. And logistically, if we are going to do 1 hour intervals, are we going to allow for cleaning time? Is there going to be like 15-minute cleaning time before the next batch come in? Because that we have to take account of as well, just to limit, to people's fear of getting anything. So that needs to be taken into account. And then the vendor thing. So if we have 30 vendors one day, are we suggesting another batch of 30 vendors the next day? Because I think that will be a nice opportunity, but logistically it's going to be hard to get new vendors in for the next day. Can you hear me?
I think that we had been going on the premise of having the same vendors on both days, and that way they could just leave their spaces set up already. Yeah.
Okay. So then, okay, so the virtual component, I'm not quite, I don't think I quite understand what was suggested there. So whilst the market is going ahead, you can have some virtual components on the screen where the people can stream Facebook. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, so the idea is that it be, again, really much the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of the amount of tech that we used last year, right? So very low tech. So somebody could, and now what Monica just suggested is a little bit different, but it could be considered also if it's just a like steady live stream on a stage. But what we had been thinking, I think, was even once on the hour, one of you all maybe hosting the market, somebody grabs an iPhone and starts live streaming on Facebook or whatever, and you walk around and you're like, look at this market, this is amazing, look what's happening over here, and you kind of walk around and host for a little while so that somebody that can't go or doesn't want to go, doesn't feel safe going, can at least kind of get a feel of what it is, but without like putting a lot of effort into the production component of it.
Yeah, because the production part was quite a big part last year. It took up a lot of time. Yeah, so something like a approach then.
I have a question, Manija.
Let's just, Manija, can you hang on just one sec? I think we should rotate and hear from everybody. So Rayhana, do you have other comments?
So I was just saying, so like, just like it's going to be like a more of a casual approach than more like a formal, you know, approach that we had last year. I think that would be a bit more. Yeah. What else did I have? Yeah, that's it for the time. So the time we're suggesting, the dates we're suggesting are August 13th and 14th, right?
We're looking at that weekend. So August 13th through the 15th. So it could be a Friday, Saturday, could be a Saturday, Sunday. But that sort of that weekend, that second weekend in August.
Okay. So just to let you know that I will be traveling. Well, we have plans to travel those dates, but you know, I will be here up until end of July to help out, but I won't be here for if our travel plans go ahead. Just to let you know. All right.
Thank you. All right, Manija, did you want to go next?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm sorry, because I can't see. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm so sorry. My question is, are we going to have it in only 1 month? Because we're going to have in person. Can we have it in 2, like every year we had it in kind of, I forgot, did we have them in 2 months or something like that? I totally forgot.
We did. We used to have we used to have one in July and one in August. And I think the proposal this year is to instead of doing one evening each month, to kind of condense that into back-to-back because of the setup and because of the extra kind of infrastructure that's going to be in place. In addition to what Jody said about kind of like, you know, vendors coming and setting up and leaving it up. So the idea would be that, like, you know, still a couple of nights, but all condensed to one. The other thing about August is that it's possibly 1 month better in terms of COVID, and gives us a little more time to prepare, but that's all I will say. Keep going. Please tell us what you think.
Yeah, thank you. And since again it's in person, can we have it like in 4 hours that we used to have them? So we have kind of, people have more time and more attendees. We can help. Is it kind of too much to do 4 hours each day?
I think we're definitely open to 4 or more hours, especially depending on what location is finalized for for this event, because of the restrictions on music. If if we're not using any kind of like big band and amplified music, we can even go later than 10 o'clock, or we can start earlier than 5 o'clock. I think that would be good to have more than 4 hours for sure.
Thank you.
I think though what you might be asking about, Manisha, we were talking about these 1 hour or 1 hour and a half increments because we're trying to get more people into the market. So if we gave 250 people a ticket for 4 hours, it would be 250 people total that could go to the market that day. But if we gave, people 2 hour tickets, then 500 people, or what, the numbers that Jody worked out. So that's why we're talking about these shorter experiences within a longer, 4, 5, 6, whatever, however many hour market that day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I'm happy, honestly, if we will do it virtually or in person, at least we will keep this legacy. So let's hope we will have a great event this year too.
You're muted, Alexis.
Oh, thanks. That's important. Carol, I just wanted to give you a chance if you had any observations or comments so far.
I am learning all these new things, and I am excited. I know I don't have any comments, but usually how many times a year we do? Like if I want to compare the proposal of 2 days this time.
Last year it was, or I'm sorry, 2 years ago, it was 2 days. It was one Saturday in July and one Saturday in August.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we did in winter too. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
But, I think it's Friday and Saturday is fabulous. I don't think Sunday will be good. I think a Friday and Saturday. Sunday is a day that you prepare yourself for next day, Monday and all of that. So I think it's Friday and Saturday is excellent. The 2 days on the road is a new experience. It's a different structure that we're going to have. But I think so far what I hear and what I see is it's going to be a good thing showing how well can you do when you prepare, even due to the circumstances. And I think it can be very successful. The idea of covering up at the night market, the actual live night market, and showing in social media, it's excellent. I think that's a very exciting part seeing there. And one of the things that I want to know, I know that the kids, the students should be vaccinated by that time. Most of us should, most of the people should, because that will be another question about people making sure that, hoping that everybody will be vaccinated in order to get together outside. And, it's just something that it just came to my head, but hopefully all the kids, all the families should be vaccinated by August. So let's hope that everything is going to be good. Thank you.
Great. Well, that was a great round of some opinions. We have and some feedback. So I think that's really helpful. We've touched on some of these questions. Jody, what do you feel like? What do you feel like we want to hear more about in terms of the questions we had for the overall event?
I think I heard Bahana say that she felt like 1 hour was not enough, and I can understand how that would be. Yeah, how that's true. I think knowing that we are limited by capacity. So for every vendor that we add to the market, it takes away from the number of attendees. And so, if based on the size and our current guidelines, like I said, we can have about 275 to 300 people in the market at any time. So if we have a vendor, this is just like, you know, an example of numbers. These are not the, you know, straight numbers, but say we have, you know, 30 vendors and each of those vendors have 2 people working. And then you have staff and volunteers. So that takes away, you know, 75, 80, 85 of the public spots. But 30 vendors is a good number. That's a lot. We could do, you know, less vendors, the market would look less. Do you all have thoughts on that? I guess the question is how long would be a good experience? And I think that would inform how many vendors we need to be able to accommodate, as well as the additional experiences, performance, and other non-interactive things that we can, you know, create.
I was going to say, I actually meant that 1 hour is enough for people to roam around and see the vendors.
Okay.
Vendors, you know, for 1 hour. I think that's not including the food part of it. But if there's no food on that particular site where the vendors are, I think 1 hour is enough. And then you can have a separate food section where people can buy and then take. So they should be in a different section so they can buy and then take and eat, you know, at their own convenience, wherever they want. So that was my thought. I think 1 hour is ample time, because I think some people come with the mindset that they want to visit, they want to buy certain things that they've seen in previous years, or if we have some sort of promotion beforehand to say like these are the 30 vendors, so people can scrutinize who the vendors are beforehand, and they can like have a sort of a game plan as to when they come to the market, who they want to go to, you know, and if they come across someone else, that's fine as well. But it'd be nice to have some sort of pre-info material for the public to view. Yeah, something like that. But I'm just worried. I know everybody will be vaccinated by then. I'm just worried about the cleaning. Like vendors should clean in between the sessions, you know, 1 hour changeovers. They should have some sort of, so that the public feel confident that, you know, we are taking care of that aspect, hygiene aspect of it, and they feel confident enough to come to the market in the first place. Because, you know, you have to entice the people. There's going to be a little bit of fear coming out after such a, you know, a year of being indoors. There's going to be some fear of, you know, do we want to go out? Do we really want to expose ourselves? Even though people have been vaccinated, there's still going to be some sort of apprehension as such. And that's what I'm worried. Will that draw people in? Another wacky idea I had was, and you know, it's just something I'm thinking on the top of my head. I know we've never charged people to go into the night market before. I was thinking, if we charge people $1 to come to the market, can we say that we're going to donate that $1 to the homeless of Beaverton? Would that be an incentive for people to come because the money's going to a good cause? It's just something I had off the cuff thinking. But it's just something I had, just something to help people of Beaverton as well.
Yeah, I think
sorry. Okay.
Oh, just to say that I'm noting those two things. I think there's various things to consider with both. I think, well, yeah, I don't want to take up a bunch of airtime. So I'm noting the cleaning aspect and also some idea of doing some sort of a donation kind of thing, which is complicated for a couple of reasons, but we don't have to talk about that right now. We can still keep it on the list for conversation. So both Manisha and Monica have a comment.
Yeah, and I'm asking, why do we want donations for? I didn't hear that. Because we had pride that everything is kind of free. Only people, if they want to spend money on shopping or something. The whole purpose, I mean, at least for quite a few years, we wanted to just keep everything free. But if you have, I didn't hear exactly why we did the donation for.
No, it was just a wacky idea. It's not something, you know.
No, I'm not objecting to that. I just didn't hear why. What do we need the donation for? I didn't hear exactly.
I was just thinking that we could maybe give back not only to the vendors, but to the people of Beaverton, the homeless people of Beaverton, the people who are not able to come to such a night market and spend on, you know, buying things from the vendors. So we can give back. We're giving back to the vendors because they're getting the opportunity to sell their product. We're also giving back to the people who are not able to attend the market, homeless people. Just
okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Monica.
Thank you. First of all, the idea of any donations or anything, it doesn't come to my head because that's not part of the night market when we started. I don't know exactly how it will feel. I mean, it's totally different. The other part I want to ask is, at the moment that people start getting in, how long do you think it's going to take the transition to start with the tickets and everything? Because it's only 1 hour that everybody's going to be there. So will that be time taken away from the people to get in? It will be smooth in the way that it's not going to take that long. It just step to walk in and start touring. And because it's only a group and it's only a amount of time, the cleaning and sanitizing, it should be part of the vendors. I think the vendors should be in charge, cleaning and sanitizing the areas, keeping with the law, with the requirements. That should be something that when we have the meeting with them, explain to them what is going to be. And neither will I. Something in the background, so let me talk. So that's the two questions. How long is going to take to enter and exit? How it's going to be taking away the hour from the hour of the people, and also sanitizing who's going to be in charge, how this is going to be work. But I think a part of it should be the vendors. I think the vendors should be in charge of keeping cleaning up after the hour or whatever you guys set up. But that was my question, just the timing for the hour. If I go there at 1 o'clock, I'm actually going to start walking at 1:10, 1:15, so I will have only 4 or 5 minutes. So that will be something I would like to know or understand better about it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We should maybe build in some buffer there that we don't tell people about or something. Maybe you get a bonus 10 minutes if you get there first. We don't tell people. That's great. I am wondering if, Jody, if we want to shift a little bit to, we will come back to some of these topics, but if we want to shift to, since we're gonna kind of, one of the first things we're gonna do is start trying to queue up vendor recruitment. So I wonder if we want to just talk a little bit about ideas for handling outreach and recruitment this year during COVID, and what you all think is sort of an ideal vendor profile in this, with this year's format. And I wonder, Jody, if you want to say just a few words about like why we're asking that question, or what you think about when you think about this piece.
So I think that, one of the ways that this market has been so successful is from you all and the larger DAB committee being so involved in the recruitment of vendors and of spreading the word and sharing news about the event, and recognizing that this year is different because we are not out and about with so many people anymore, and we aren't able to, share the word so much anymore. It's going to be an increased challenge to, outreach for potential new vendors. In the past, we have prioritized bringing a range of vendors to this event, both really experienced vendors and this is just speaking to food specifically, really experienced vendors who can handle a large capacity because our crowds have been huge, as well as providing opportunity for people who you know, are somewhere in the middle range, and somebody who this was their first event ever. And so with this change in format, with the change in restrictions, just thinking about how it's going to be challenging, number one, to get the word out that we are having this and these are the applications, and also what type of vendor might we be looking for this year, knowing that the capacity of the market is going to be much lower than it usually is, and that, you know, perhaps a vendor who is really experienced or has a brick and mortar store might not, you know, be the ideal vendor for this marketplace. Sorry, my son just walked in and I'm yelling at my kids to open the door. So I guess the questions are around how do y'all think we can, or you can help, and I can, you know, provide support around getting the word out that we are looking for these vendors, that we have applications open, that our market is going to happen this year. It's going to look a little bit different. And then also specifically with regards to food vendors, I think how does this change who we're looking for? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Monica.
I was listening, Jody. I think because everybody is going through this, the income, people have problems with the business. Nobody, you know, people is losing money. I really feel like that established or whatever people who we had before, probably they would like to come and be part of it, because it's kind of like reopening, putting their name out again to start over after this whole situation. I think an experienced one will be a good thing, because it will be more careful of the way they're preparing the food. It will take more seriously, maybe have more experience on how to handle due to the situation, how to prepare their food, how to clean it up. So I think that part of the people who already been there are vendors. It will be, I don't think you will, Jody, have a problem, some people coming back, because like I said, the situation, the economic situation, it will help them again, the big vendors or the small vendors. But I think experienced vendors will help us to be cautious about how to prepare it, how to clean it, how to keep it up. That's what it comes to my head right now. But you know, something that I want to say, I'm so happy, Jody, that you're still with us, because you've done such a job from the very beginning, from the very first year. And we all work together, but actually you are the one who holds and makes sure that this works. So thank you very much. I'm very happy, and you know that, because every year I want you back. So so those were my thoughts about, you know, getting back them. I think that they will be excited. It doesn't matter that it's going to be small, not as big as before, because they're going to start over again as a jump start after this whole madness that we went through. Thank you.
What I heard you say, Monica, and thank you for your kind words. What I heard you say was that you don't feel like this changes the I guess professionalism of vendor that we're looking for, because you feel like those vendors who are big capacity are still hurting financially and economically, and might have also more experience in you know, doing the cleaning and the preparation in a sanitary way. Do you also think that it's important to prioritize, you know, providing opportunity for somebody who is brand new, just like we have done in years past? Or anybody want to answer that?
Yes, I think you should. I think it should be, but it has to be very specific in explaining to them what are the expectations. I think our expectations are always being the first class. We want the best and everything, but this time is more. Due to the situation, we need to explain to them how important it is, that part, whether it's an old vendor or whether it's a small new vendor. I think that's going to be a big responsibility for the night market. Thank you.
This is Manager. Also, we need to also take in consideration, we need vendors, as always, from different cultures. So, have you already talked about it? I didn't hear it, but besides being professional and all that, the points that Monica mentioned, we need representatives from most of cultures that we can, or regions or something. So, because that's one of the main purposes of Beaverton Night Market, to kind of bring different cultures together. I mean, so vendors, like for example, Slavic, Middle East, and all that. So we have multicultural vendors. That's very important to me.
Thank you for bringing that up, Monica. And that was something that I meant to touch on a little bit. I mean, sorry, not Monica, Maniche. That yes, I think like many, you know, like every year, the getting a wide range of you know, representation at this market with the vendors and performers has always been super important, and I think this year is no different from that. I think one thing that we really need to be mindful of is that this is going to be a smaller, there will be less vendors than in past live night markets. You know, last year with the virtual night market, we had 18 vendors, which is not very many. The year before, I think it was around 60. And this year, I'm thinking in the range of 30. So the representation is not going to be as broad as maybe we would like it to be, just because of the number of vendors that can fit in the space safely. But I think that it's really important to be mindful of what we want that represent, or what you all want that representation to look like.
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
So another thing that came to my mind was with the tickets. Can we? So I envisage two scenarios. One scenario is that you know, we don't get that many people because of the fear of COVID and you know, apprehension about going up. We don't get that many people turning up. The other scenario is that we get an overwhelming number of people coming, even though it's a ticketed thing. They might just all collaborate in one space. Then you're going against the, you know, the whole point of having a certain number of people at the fair. So you have two scenarios. So in order to eliminate that scenario where people do collaborate, thinking, okay, we'll just turn up and we can get in, you know, we might be able to get in, but they don't get in, right? Because it's full. So can we somehow distribute those tickets beforehand, or have them pick them up somewhere at some place so that they now have a pre-reserved spot to get in? So that way you don't get that many people collaborating at that fair, you know, thinking, oh yeah, we might, let's just try, we might get in.
I think that's a really good point. One of the things that we had talked about, we've talked about several ways of doing it. One, using, you know, an online Eventbrite type registration system and messaging, you know, that registration is required. They did that in the My People's Market last year, and it worked very successfully to limit the amount of people that were able to get in. We talked about having using some type of colored bracelet maybe to identify like when the time sections are over with, and when people need to leave. We'd also, and then another consideration to think about too is the idea of access, and like who has access to the ticketing reservation system and the language access. And so wanting to be really mindful to like somehow provide different ways for people to access those reservations and those tickets.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, then just coming back on, that was just one idea I had, but coming back on the vendor selection part of it, with regards to the food, I feel that we should go with a vendor that has experience, because they're aware of, how to, the hygiene and the sanitary side, that they're aware of that. But with the other vendors, we can go with new vendors, smaller vendors who are just seeking to open up a business or starting up and have no experience and want to, entry into the marketplace. We can go with that type of situation.
This is Manager.
I think, yes, Manager. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Ahmed, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say, Rihanna, this is a good idea to mix between the big and small vendors, not small vendor, like this beginner vendors, so they will have experience from those people who's like professionals, and they will see how they manage their business, and maybe they can, we can introduce them to each other, and they will have a good relationship, and that will open new new business between both. So I like that, like when we mix between experienced vendors and beginner vendors, so they will, maybe that will give them some experience.
But we've been doing that, haven't we? We kind of introduce them, and sometimes the vendors with experience have talked to them and explained the experiences, how they started and all of that, which I don't know how it will be done, probably virtually this time, I don't know. But I've been very lucky to be in every training. And I remember that we do introduce them. Jody introduced them, and they explain and share their experiences and the mistakes they made, how they did the next year. So that is a very good. The only concern with that will be this time only because of the situation of the health issues. That's the only why, in my case, I emphasize that part. That's it. Thanks.
And I think going forward in the future, once COVID is over, it'd be a good idea to have like a vendor cocktail party. I know My People's Market have a vendor, mingling session on that Friday evening, an hour before the market opens, so they get to know each other. That's just something going forward we can think about, once COVID is over.
I really like that idea, Rahana. I think it wasn't last year, but the year before that, we did something like that where vendors brought samples of their food, the food vendors, and they brought enough to share with everybody else. And so we took some photographs of them in their wear and gave them that professional photography, and they talked a little bit about their food, and then everybody kind of ate and mingled a little bit. It was really nice.
I love that.
Yeah, and we had orientation for the vendors, if you remember.
Yeah, that was part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and going back to having more representative of different regions, because in the past when we had more vendors, we had like some of the areas they had, for example, from Asia, we had more than one representative. So right now we can have like from every region only one vendor. Like for example, from Slavic part we have just one. From African region we just have one or two. according to the how vast their area is. Like, for example, in Africa, we can have more than one because they're big. So that's how we can have from representatives from every region. So we can have because I like to share. I like different people to come and be able to have a chance to have business.
Well, thank you all. I'm just looking at the clock and this time just totally flew by. So it's 8:15 right now. Some really great energy and thoughts and reactions. I feel like we're walking away with a lot of really good points for follow-up and some good ideas, and also just kind of a sense of where you all think, how you received the general proposal, which I'm hearing is generally pretty good, although there are some tweaks and some ideas of how to implement a bunch of it. So I feel really good about tonight's meeting in terms of what we got from you all, and I appreciate that very much. I do want to just pivot really quick to ask about people's availability. I think in the past we've done like a regular meeting about once a month on a Monday night kind of thing. I think we could try something like that, or we could try to be a bit more flexible and dynamic as things are evolving. But I just want to take into consideration anything to say or put in the chat about your availability as we move forward before we schedule a new meeting. We have a couple things to work around, including Jody being out for a little while. So we're just trying to figure out when it would be good for next meeting. Go ahead, Monica.
I am totally able to whatever you do it. I have no commitments right now. And I never will have commitments before night market because night market's first for me. But I'm just curious, can you tell me, if you whisper to me, do you have any ideas where can be the night market?
Oh yeah, sure. And we'll have some actual maps to show you next time. But what we're returning to as a starting point are the maps that we looked at last year in the downtown, on that first street down there. There's a couple of other suggestions in the region, which is why we didn't show you a map right now, but we're meeting this week with Downtown Association and Economic Development and things like that, and we'll bring back some maps very shortly. But yes,
what is going to happen, because some of the restaurants, they have outdoors, the tables still. So in the area where we're talking about for 2 years, the year before last year. So would there be something that it would be an obstacle for us because of the restaurants having outdoor space, or I don't know.
Yeah, those are some of the things we want to talk about with folks that are like really like in daily contact with the downtown businesses. Those are some of the things to consider. So yeah, thanks.
Thank
Other
you.
Comments about availability or preferences around scheduling these meetings?
Thursday evening, if that's possible.
What day?
Thursday evening.
Thursday evenings?
Oh no, Thursday is not good for me.
Okay, no, that's fine then. Any other day that suits you, Manager. I was just trying to move away from Monday.
I was wondering if Tuesday works for people.
Yeah, Tuesday works for me as well.
Sometimes will not work for me, but I will try to fit it.
Monday is great.
Yeah, Monday is good for me. Tuesday will be tough.
Monday works as well. I mean, Monday works as well if it's good for everyone. That's okay.
So next week we will have like board meeting, right, Alexis?
Yeah, next Monday night will be the regular monthly meeting for DAB.
So as I remember last year, we like nominate someone he will, or we elect someone he will give briefing every DAB meeting, which level we reach, what we did in Beaverton Night Market. So do we need to elect someone this year too, or?
I think that's a really great point. Yeah.
So Ahmed, go ahead and do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. I already have a lot of in my plate.
And we are happy to help construct talking points. But I think it's really great when it can be you all that's reporting back out.
If I will have someone write notes, because I'm not fast typing, I can do it if you want, guys.
Sounds great.
So are we still on Mondays?
I think what I'll do, sorry. It sounds like for most people, Monday was the only thing that came out that didn't have a conflict for folks.
Yes, please.
The best day.
Please do Mondays, not Tuesday, because Tuesday is my physical therapy and I figure out chi. So no. Thank you.
Monica, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
All right, well, we will be in touch very shortly to schedule another meeting, and also probably will send you all some more information as it evolves, some of what we talked about written down tonight.
I thought more gift cards.
And more gift cards, there you go. I'm glad you like that.
So can I ask a favor? Can we have the meeting, keep it on Monday, but for a couple of months, just like maybe next month, start to point 5 o'clock, is okay? Just one meeting. The next day after that, I'll be okay. But if it works for everyone, then I don't want to be selfish.
That's right. You have a conflict from 6 to 7, correct, Manisha, for a little bit?
Yeah, but if I start meeting, if we start at 5 o'clock, that would be perfect. Just next month. That's it.
I'm fine with that.
That sounds good. And I apologize. I had a conflict tonight.
I'm okay with that too.
Great. All right. Thanks, team.
Thank you all. I love you all.
We appreciate you all.
Thank you for being.
Bye, everyone.
Good evening.
Bye.
Thank you, Jody. I missed you for a while.
You too.
And
We'll
thank
see
you,
you
Alex.
soon.